Let me first thank, before answering your question, l'Istituto per gli Studi di Politica Internazionale and the Bocconi University as a co-host of this T20 summit for this invitation. On this question, I think we have to make a difference, which is not often made between what I call protectionism on the one side, and on the other side, what I call precautionism. Protectionism is when you protect your producers from foreign competition. It's a well-known game. Precautionism is different. It's when you protect your people from risks. And this is a very different issue, although there may be some blurred frontier between protectionism on the one side and precautionism on the other side. What we've seen during the pandemic crisis is not protectionism, it's precautionism. Most of the trade measures that were taken during this crisis did not have as a purpose to protect producers from foreign competition, but to protect populations from this COVID virus and to take the necessary consequences in order to properly address the sanitary shock and then the economic shock. So this is my own view. And I think the operational conclusion of this for the G20, hence, which I put on the table of the T20, is that we will need in the future a higher degree of regulatory convergence in this world. Regulatory convergence understood as the regulation of precaution, safety, security, pesticide in flowers, safety of lighters, safety of cars, safety of data, and this is a much more difficult ground. I think looking forward, including on the environmental side, we have to better organize the coexistence of trade opening on the one side and the exercise of precaution on the other side. This is what our populations are asking for.
Well, this is a great point, but Pascal Lamy, there's another aspect. We talk about the green and also the digital transition, and all of these will have an impact on international trade. How do you think we can promote a greener and more inclusive and sustainable international trade looking ahead?
On this question, I think you are right. We have collectively to face with two major challenges, the digital transition and the green transition. In both cases, and this is my contribution to this T20 discussion, looking at the G20 agenda. In both cases, I think we are running a serious risk of, if not deglobalization, I would not go that far, a serious risk of fragmentation of our systems. In the digital world, there is a risk of a bi or even tripolar world with US, China, and probably Europe. And this is pretty clear if you look, for instance, at the regulation of data, data privacy, data protection, data localization, data storage, data availability are regulated today in a different way in China, in US, and in Europe. And this entails a risk of fragmentation, which I think we should limit. We will not totally avoid this because of deep ideological differences that have a larger impact in the world of digitalization that they had in the previous world. Cars and bicycles are ideologically neutral, data are not. And this is something which I think deserves attention. And I would say the same about the risk of fragmentation, of globalization in decarbonization. We all have to cope with the same challenge, which is decarbonization of economies, and we all know that this entails a time horizon of carbon net neutrality. I'm not worried by the fact that China is 2060 and Europe, US, Japan would be 2050. What matters is more coordination in our trajectories to get there, and more coordination in our trajectories to get there entails, in my view, more coordination in how we use the different available policy tools, whether it's taxation, whether it's emission trading, whether it's technical standards, whether it's incentives or subsidization. The toolbox is a well-identified one, but so far, again, if you look at US, China, Europe, we use them differently, which entails a risk of carbon leakages if carbon prices or tools to address this are so different. And I think, again, this is something that needs to be seriously considered for the future. We have, and this is what the three institutes Jacques Delors in Paris, Berlin, and Brussels have proposed, a sort of comparability platform, which, in my view, should be around the WTO table.
Well, thank you so much, Pascal Lamy, for this. And let me turn to Professor Paduan here on the stage in Milan.